Hey guys, Dylan from Noble Records coming at you with another video. Now, I've been doing some top 20 videos. This is one I've been wanting to do, top 20 best-selling albums of all time. What I like about this video is that there's a lot of these records that I don't like. And so I want to talk about records I've never talked about before. Some of them really shocked me, these were the top, because I have in my mind what the best-selling albums of all time probably are. But I was completely wrong. So, let's get to it. Number one, here's what this video is not. This video is not my opinion. So don't at me getting all mad because your favorite album wasn't here. It is not my opinion. This is based on actual facts and raw data. Number two, not the best albums of all time. A lot of these albums are not very good. So just be warned. This is not the best albums. This is not my opinion. This is just the raw data of what everyone has bought in their lifetime. So, we're going to start at number 20 and move our way up to number 1. Real quick addition, I'm adding this later after I shot the video. These are based on US sales. So, the UK numbers are going to be drastically different. So, these numbers, they seem kind of low. You know, some are 20 million, some are 18 million, some are, 16 million, whatever. That's just US sales. So, that's where I got the list from. So, number 20, you might have guessed would be on here. This is an album we all see everywhere we go. Well, maybe used to. The Bee Gees' Saturday Night Fever soundtrack, selling 16 million copies. A lot of these are, between CD and vinyl and digital and all that stuff. So it's got that whole spectrum. But Saturday Night Fever, definitely an album, as collecting records my whole life. I've seen that album a million times. But it's also actually kind of coming back. I get, in the shop, I own a record store. People are always asking for it. I can never find enough copies. Sure, they're not worth much, but people still always want them. So it's just kind of one that's timeless. A lot of people love, Staying Alive. It's got some classic stuff on there. And the Bee Gees, Bee Gees are wildly talented dudes. So it's a good album. Not the best album, but it's a good album. It depends on who you are. If you like it, you like it. Number 19 is Alanis Morissette, Jagged Little Pill. I was kind of surprised this was on there at all. I know it's a popular album. I know it's a really good album, but I was just kind of surprised it was up in the top 20. It also sold 16 million. And by the way, this list was updated in September of 2020, so it's still pretty fresh and relevant. But that's a great album. I was just kind of surprised to see it there. The next one is the Beatles, 1967 to 1970. It's a greatest hits compilation. It's the Blue Album. And usually we'll get a lot of the Beatles Red compilation album, but the Blue one, for some reason, comes along maybe only a third of the time. So they don't always come in together. The Red one, I always see a lot more. The Blue one, maybe people keep, but the Blue one's the later Beatles stuff, which is actually what I like a lot more. I love the later albums by the Beatles, and that is actually a really good compilation that I love to listen to. Now, if it were me, if I'm talking about albums, I would not factor in compilations. That's not a real album in my opinion, just because it's just a compilation of albums. It's not fair to take all the best songs and put them on one album and call it an album. It's the greatest hits. It's a compilation. It's a collection of an artist. But in this list, that is the next one. That is number 18, selling 17 million copies. Moving right along is Elton John's greatest hits, which also sold 17 million copies. Growing up, I had this one, and I loved it. It has a lot of really great Elton John tunes on it. Obviously, Elton John is a legendary songwriter and performer. He's incredible. The older I get, the more I really appreciate his songwriting. It's just he's timeless. He's incredible. Was relevant then. He's relevant now. He's just one of those artists that, we all hold a high regard for, I think. But Elton John is just fantastic, and I can definitely see him being on the top best-selling albums of all time. Number 16 is Boston's Self-Titled at 17 million copies. Now, I love this album. I've always loved this album. It's a great record, and I was surprised to see it on the top best-selling albums of all time because, there's a few that you really think of would be in the top ones, but I do see this one a good bit. It does come around a good bit, but it's just one that everyone loves. Every time I get a copy in the shop, it's gone, Everybody loves Boston. And that, especially that first album, that Foreplay a Long Time, that's my favorite. But it just has, every single song is great on that album. I absolutely love it. It's got the spaceship graphics. It's awesome. But that's a really great album, and I'm a little surprised to see it on the top 20, but it definitely is one of those that everybody's heard. Everybody loves that album. If you haven't heard it, go find it. It's a great record. It shouldn't be too hard to find. Number 15 is Whitney Houston, The Bodyguard soundtrack. This is one I do see a lot of, especially cassettes, CDs. They come around all the time. It was a great soundtrack. A lot of people loved it. Not much more to say about it than that. Whitney Houston, obviously, incredible singer, probably, you know, obviously one of the best ever. So I'm not surprised at that, but I'm a little surprised that it's a soundtrack. But at the same time, I've never seen the movie The Bodyguard, but I have heard the soundtrack. So I don't know. It's one of those things. Number 14 is Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction, coming in at 18 million copies as well. That's an insanely good record, classic. You know, at the time when I was a kid, we would ride around all the time, listen to it in the car. I always wanted the record, but they were hard to find when I was young. Anyways, this is one that I definitely wore out and listened to all the time. I definitely had several copies of this record. And now they've reissued it. They're selling a ton. Every time I have one in the shop and put it out, it's gone. So I'm always having to order more. But Appetite for Destruction, obviously, all their most popular hits are on there. You know, all that stuff. For me, for Guns N' Roses, I prefer Use Your Illusion. 1 and 2, both equally good, I think. But that's where my Guns N' Roses, that's where I like it. If I'm going to put it on, that's what it's going to be. But love Guns N' Roses. Appetite for Destruction, number 14, 18 million copies. Great record. Number 13 is Garth Brooks, No Fences, 18 million copies. You're going to see Garth Brooks a lot on this list, a few times at least. And that surprised me. Now, about a year ago, I learned that Garth Brooks apparently sells a lot of records. I mean, obviously, he's a household name. Everybody knows who he is. He's Chris Gaines, all this stuff. But Garth Brooks is not somebody I would think is like as legendary as the Beatles, you know, in my opinion. But apparently, there's been a constant struggle with Garth Brooks. He wants to sell more records than anybody, which why not? I get it. But I think in 2015, he sold more records than Elvis, and then his target has been to sell more records than the Beatles. It's rumored that the box set that he came out with a legacy box set where it has everything he's ever recorded on it. So it's got like the CDs, it's got the records, but each one of those albums in that box set counts for one record sale. And so the rumor is the only reason he came out with that box set was to try to outsell the Beatles. And he did like a sale on his website to where you get like 3 box sets for the price of 2 or something. So people were buying 3 and they were giving them as gifts. Now I've got tons of them. People are trading them in at the shop. They're everywhere. It's crazy. But, you know, it's got all his albums in there. All that to say, people say he's outsold the Beatles. He has not. He has 7 Diamond Awards. Like, so he's gone Diamond 7 times, 7 of his albums. The Beatles only have 6. So he has the most Diamond albums of anyone ever. But as far as like total album sales, he has not outsold the Beatles yet. So that's just a update for Garth Brooks versus the Beatles. But anyways, Garth Brooks, he's great. Good songwriter, country music legend. I don't listen to Garth Brooks, but I know a lot of people really do, and they hold him in high regard. And I do have respect for him. I've heard that he's a fantastic performer, all this stuff. Nothing against Garth Brooks. We all want to be the best. But that's just my 2 cents on it. Number 12 is Shania Twain. Come on over. Staying in that country music vein, this is an album I definitely heard a lot as a kid. My mom had it in the car, and I secretly liked it. I said I hated it, but you know, Feel Like a Woman, Come On Over Baby, that don't impress me much. 1997 was a good year. Anyways, we all like it a little bit. Come on. Even you heavy metal guys. But anyways, a lot of these records, I normally show records, but a lot of them I don't have because, you know, I'm sure that there is a vinyl format of Shania Twain, but I don't have one. So anyways, it's definitely a nostalgic record for us all. Top 20, I'm surprised, especially at number 12. Number 11 at 20 million albums sold. This doesn't surprise me. The only thing that surprises me is that this isn't higher on the list, and that is Fleetwood Mac Rumors. Holy moly, this album sells. I anticipate that it will move up the list, and I'll tell you why. Every time I get a copy in the shop and put it out, it sells in seconds. Like, as soon as I put it out, someone comes and grabs it. It's insane. And everyone's always asking for it. Even the reissues, when I put them out, people are buying them like crazy. The reissues are like on back order now because right after Christmas, like everybody ordered a ton of them for Christmas and everybody's coming in buying them, so you can't get them, all that stuff. But Fleetwood Mac Rumors, obviously, really good record. Incredible stuff. It's one of the best records of all time. And now with the, in 2020, we had the skateboarding, cranberry juice video, and it's kind of all made us go back and listen to Fleetwood Mac Rumors again. And hey, it's a great record. I've enjoyed revisiting it this year. So it definitely earns number 11 just because I know it's had an impact on a lot of people, and a lot of people just absolutely love it. And like I said, literally every time I have one, it's gone instantly. Like, everybody wants it. So, and it used to, when I was young, I mean, you could get them in the dollar bin all the time when you were buying vinyl, but now it's just, they've gone up in value, they're sought after, all that stuff. So it's not a rare record, obviously. They sold 20 million copies. With all these, they're not rare records, but it is something that people are always looking for. Number 10, Hootie the Blowfish, Cracked Rear View, 21 million copies. I was a little surprised by that one, Hootie the Blowfish. It is what it is. It's a good album. A lot of people like Hootie the Blowfish. I know a lot of people call them frat rock. A few years they'll be called yacht rock or dad rock. But yeah, Hootie the Blowfish. It's a very good selling album. A lot of people like it. I don't know what else to say. It's never really resonated with me. I don't own it, but 21 million of you do. So, number 9, look out, folks. We got Garth Brooks again, Double Live, which I've never heard this album. I've never seen this album. I know that it's obviously 21 million people bought it, so it's obviously up there. But as far as, it's a Garth Brooks album. It sold well. The story we just heard a little bit ago. So we'll move on. Number 8, Pink Floyd The Wall with 23 million copies sold. This one doesn't surprise me. Pink Floyd The Wall, a huge part of my childhood. I've told this story on my channel before, but when I was a kid, I did go to Blockbuster and rent it on VHS and took it home. I was like 12, 13. Popped it in the VCR and was horrified. Scarred for life, some might say. But anyways, Pink Floyd The Wall. I've heard it so many times. It's kind of ingrained in my brain, but it's a great album. Double LP. It's another one. Every time I get it, it's gone instantly. But 23 million copies. It's a great record. Number 7 is Led Zeppelin. Self-titled. Some people call it The Four Signs. Some people call it Led Zeppelin 4. Some people call it Zoso. There's 1,000 nicknames for this. Some people call it The Hermit. It's just off the top of my head. Now, you guys know Led Zeppelin's my favorite band. Love them to death. Stairway to Heaven's on this. Black Dog's on this. There's a ton of great tracks on this. Is it the best Led Zeppelin album? No. But it's a fantastic record. You'll see, I did a Led Zeppelin album ranking. I am not talking bad about this record. It is phenomenal, and I grew up on it, and Led Zeppelin's my favorite band. I'm just saying, Physical Graffiti's better. Anyways, Led Zeppelin 2 is better. It's a great, phenomenal record that we all love. It's like talking about one of my kids. I'm going to talk forever about it because I love it, so I got to move on to number 6. Number 6, another compilation, Billy Joel's Greatest Hits, Volume 1 and 2. This is one that, you diggers might want to pick up if you find it on the cheap. It has come up in value as well, but it sold 23 million copies. Billy Joel, another one, incredible songwriter. What I really like about Billy Joel, well, I've got you here, I'll show you Billy Joel's greatest work. Attila, when he played heavy metal, psychedelic heavy metal, hard rock is what I'd call it. This is the best thing Billy Joel ever did. And this is not something you're going to find on his Greatest Hits Part 1 and 2. That's a great band that he was in before he was Billy Joel. Anyways, but obviously great songwriter. Everybody loves Billy Joel, the Piano Man. We don't need to go any farther there. Number 5, the Beatles' White Album. Man, that's a great choice. Beatles album, the Beatles' White Album is my favorite Beatles album. I love it. It's fantastic. I'm shocked that it sold more than Abbey Road. I'm shocked that it sold more than Revolver. But it is my favorite. So I'm really glad that it's represented this way. It's just so awesome. Like the Beatles are just like, we're going to put out an album. It's just going to be white. There's going to be no artwork and people are going to buy it. And it's going to be the 5th best-selling album of all time. Well, it was. While My Guitar Gently Weeps. Oh, man. That's one of my absolute favorite Beatles songs. It's on that record. And my favorite Beatles song is on that record, which is Helter Skelter. So good. Listen, if you haven't heard that song in a while, listen to it. My theory is Helter Skelter was an early punk rock song. But anyways, number 5, the Beatles' self-titled White Album, 24 million copies sold. So good. Number 4, AC/DC, Back in Black, 25 million copies. This is the first album they did without Bon Scott. First album they did with Brian Johnson. It's so iconic. Every single song is AC/DC, and they all sound the same. I'm joking. But they're, it's great. When I was a kid, I learned this album backwards and forwards on my guitar. Loved it. Listened to every track like it was going to save my life. Great album. Really, honestly. I do tell some AC/DC jokes, but it's a timeless rock and roll album. You can't deny that. Number 3, Hotel California at 26 million copies. Wow. Hotel California is a great song. It's a great album. There was the whole conspiracy with the backward masking with Hotel California, that you turn it backwards, and it talks about the Church of Satan and all this stuff. It's a fascinating story. Who knows if it's true? I don't think it is. But Hotel California, great record. Love it. We've all grown up with it. And every time I listen to it, I am glad I did. It's a good record. That's all I can say. Number 2 is Michael Jackson, Thriller, at 33 million copies sold. We've all talked about Thriller a million times. And like the joke I always say is like, I have people come in the shop all the time. They're like, I have a copy of Thriller. Will you give me $1,000 for it or whatever? Because they think it's worth a fortune. They did sell 33 million copies of Thriller, so it's not really hard to find. But it's an album, tons of hits. Michael Jackson, we're all there with you. Number one. I knew this, but it still surprised me because I forgot I knew it. The Eagles' greatest hits, clocking in, number 1. 38 million copies sold. Holy moly. It is a common album, and I do see it all the time. When I was a kid, I was 10 years old, and I found this record. It was maybe the 3rd record I ever owned. And I was so excited, and I brought it home and put it on my turntable, and I discovered the record Warp. It was warped. And I did some tricks with a hairdryer that made it at least playable. And I listened to it forever. Probably destroyed my needle. But, man, Eagles' greatest hits, it brings me back. Like I said, do compilations count? In my opinion, no. But as this list is the greatest album, the best-selling albums of all time, I had to include it. I'm going to go ahead and do just a couple honorable mentions, because these are albums I cannot believe were not up there. Number 21 was Led Zeppelin Physical Graffiti. Number 22 was Metallica, the Black Album. Number 23 was Bob Marley and the Wailers' Legend. Number 24 was Bruce Springsteen, Born in the USA. 25, Journey's Greatest Hits. 26! It's not till 26! That is Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon. I thought that was going to be in the top 3. What is wrong with people? No, I'm joking. It does have the most consecutive weeks on the top of the charts or something like that. There's all these weird criterias in which people get awards and gold records and stuff. You got which ones go diamond, which ones goes platinum, overall sales, weeks charted, all this stuff. But I was really surprised. I know someone, like 1,000 people are going to comment, what? There's no Pink Floyd Dark Side of the Moon? It's number 26. And I am just baffled by that. So Adele, Backstreet Boys, Britney Spears, it goes into some real dark places here. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I I really enjoyed making it, just cutting some fun. In all reality, this means nothing to me. What sold and how many copies and all that stuff. I do get people arguing with me like, this album was better because it sold more copies. That is not true. A lot of these are great albums. A lot of them aren't. You could be the judge of that. But that's kind of the antithesis of why I like music is what sold more. I don't care. I like what really I like. So that's just a little bit I'll add on to the end, is that you should like what you like. This ranking does not matter whatsoever. I just thought we would talk about just some funny albums and why they sold like millions of copies is super interesting to me. So thank y'all for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, hit that subscribe button. We'd really appreciate it. And also, we're always posting stuff on Instagram. We have a record store in North Carolina. We'd love to keep up with you there. We'd love to hear your comments. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.